I want to give you guys an update on the Maingear Element Laptop. I've been using it for months now, so I want to tell you guys about my experience with it long term. That way, if you're looking for a laptop like this, you'll be able to make a better decision. All right, let's get started. Hey guys, Tiago with Classical Technology here. Thank you for joining me for another video. Remember to smash that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Are you in the market for a gaming laptop? Now, in recent times, gaming laptops have become more and more powerful and smaller. Back in the day, if you wanted a really high-end gaming laptop, you were going to have an absolutely huge laptop that's not only going to be super loud with the fan spinning all the time, but the battery life is also going to be terrible. So basically, you're going to have to tether it to your desk most of the time anyway, and at that point, you might as well get a desktop or even a small form factor PC. But the laptops recently, and especially this Maingear Element, is absolutely phenomenal because it not only blends really great performance, but also in a very light and small form factor. Every time I pick it up in my hand and I move it around with one hand, it's amazing just how crazy thin and light this laptop is. And when I stop to think about the hardware inside, I mean, it's better than most high-end PCs. We have that NVIDIA 2070 GPU, we have a high-end Intel CPU, we have 2 terabytes of NVMe storage. I mean, most gaming computers are going to have significantly less than that, not to mention 32 gigabytes of RAM. As you can see, this can not only do gaming really well, but it can also do content creation with stuff like DaVinci Resolve as well as Premiere. Now, for the first point, and this is an important one, it has been extremely reliable, have not had any issues at all. In fact, many of my first impressions that I had when I first got it still remain to this day. And in fact, Maingear makes it very easy for you to upgrade your BIOS, and believe it or not, over time these BIOS upgrades have actually been fantastic. A lot of gaming laptops I've had in the past, it's almost like the BIOS doesn't exist. You know, the companies won't have anything on their website. It's really unlike a motherboard that you would have on a custom PC or something like that. But Maingear in this aspect is different. They have a page dedicated just to this laptop, so you can download your BIOS and you can download other updates like the Maingear Node, which is a software that you get, allows you to control the RGB and the fan curve on your system. So in terms of a long-term reliability standpoint, that's absolutely fantastic because the laptop just gets better and better with age. It's not something that just comes out and is ignored. All these updates, like I said, have greatly improved the battery life, making it a much more usable laptop, especially when you can't be at home with power. Maybe you got to go around, but you still want to play some games or do some content creation. That's going to be a fantastic benefit. The next good thing about using this laptop for the last several months, aside from the software side being very reliable, like I mentioned with the updates, the actual physical laptop is really robust. Everything's really well built in it. And in fact, I even ordered a special D brand skin that I put on the laptop. They make custom ones specifically for this laptop, so that way you can protect sort of the outer shell, the bottom, even the trackpad area. I put it on there just because it's such a nice laptop underneath. I want to make sure that I don't accidentally drop it or scratch it or something like that. And this looks really cool, and it adds that extra layer of protection. But even before I put that on, the laptop held up tremendously well. I just figured I'd rather protect this one a little more, since this was the special edition, sort of the special launch edition, which is a little bit different than the one you can buy today or buy at Micro Center. So the finish is a little bit different on it. So I definitely wanted to leave it really nice and protected. Over the last several months, as I've researched different hardware, even the type of hardware that's great for not only gaming but video editing, I see it as a tremendous value even to this day. For the type of performance and hardware that you're getting in this laptop, I think it's an absolutely crazy value for a laptop like this. Usually from a custom boutique, to have a laptop with these type of specs, the price would be considerably more. And even if you check your local store or even online, you'll see that often for these type of specs, the price is usually, if not more, you're going to be getting a lot less for the price. So it's really well priced. And if you look at other laptops on the market, especially if you look at Mac laptops. They all seem to be at least a generation behind the Windows laptops. They're going to be considerably more expensive for the type of hardware that you get. If you're using an app that's not specific to Mac, like it's not Final Cut Pro or something like that, if you're using Premiere or Resolve, you're going to get a lot better performance with a laptop with a 2070 like this, 32 gigs of RAM, than you will with a similarly priced MacBook Pro. At the equal price point, it's going to have an AMD mobile GPU, which is nowhere near as good as the 2070. The processor is usually a generation behind these type of laptops, and generally they come with maybe 16 gigabytes of RAM, and definitely the storage space is considerably less. To get a 2 terabyte NVMe with Apple, you're going to be paying through the nose. So that's going to put it in a whole different price field. So if the app you use works on Windows, you're definitely going to get considerably more performance for your buck. Now, even if you compare with other Windows laptops on the market, as I did when I initially got it, you'll see that it's priced really, really well, and everything else like the aesthetics and the great Maingear support, it's just kind of icing on the cake. Anytime you have a question, they're always very fast to respond, they're very knowledgeable. So if you put that all together in a package that actually works for the long-term ownership that you have, that's why I'm making this update now. Because if this was my first day owning the laptop and I'm just telling you how durable it is or how great Maingear is, that's not really going to have sort of the proof behind the pudding. And here, months and months after actually using the laptop at home and on the field, I have sort of the proof that I need for myself to know that it's a really high quality product. Hey, Maingear is always there if you have a question or an issue or anything like that. The fourth thing that I really like about this laptop over time is how happy I am with the actual hardware and specs. A lot of time when you buy a laptop or a pre-built PC, pretty soon something else comes out and your specs are sort of outdated. But I think especially this Maingear Element, this sort of higher end configuration of it, it has the absolute sweet spot of hardware, starting with the 32 gigabytes of RAM. With that, you're going to be good for gaming, content creation. It really covers a very wide field, and it doesn't give you sort of upgrade anxiety a year after or even 2 years after where you're like, oh, I should have gotten more RAM or something like that. Also, the NVMe drive that's in the system, 2 terabytes. Once again, space. If you have a small 256 gigabyte NVMe drive, even if it's fast, it's going to fill up pretty quick. You're going to have to use Thunderbolt 3 drives or external hard drives. And of course, the NVIDIA 2070 along with the Intel CPU in here definitely have a lot of room in terms of frames per second, even in high-end games that are coming out now with really maxed out graphics, not to mention in content creation. Because of the RAM, because of the fast GPU with something like Resolve, over time I felt that the hardware really fit my need very, very well. Now, Maingear do have a couple of configurations for this laptop. The one I have, at least at the time, was sort of the highest end one with the fastest graphics and processor and 32 gigabytes of RAM. They do have other configurations available as well that's a little bit cheaper than this, but in general, if you can fit it in your budget, get the highest end one that you can, because then a year later or 2 years later, you're not going to be getting that upgrade itch because the hardware is going to be sort of really enough for anything that you throw at it. And lastly, other long-term impressions. In general, I definitely love using this laptop, and just keep in mind it's a super powerful laptop in a very small enclosure, so at times if you want to run everything at max speed, you're going to have to pretty much put those fans on max, and you can definitely hear them. I mean, if you have headphones or something like that, it's fine. You have a lot of control over the fans using the Maingear node. You can sort of adjust how loud they get. So if you do hear the fans spin up a little bit more, that comes with the territory of having more power. But aside from that, overall the experience is extremely smooth, and just having something that's well built and reliable and lasts a really long time without having any issues, especially if you have to use it for, work or really serious purposes, or even for gaming. You don't want to have any downtime when you're doing that, especially since a lot more people have been working from home. So having those attributes, I mean, that makes it A+ in my book, especially considering that the price you pay for it, if you compare to everything else on the market, I still think it's a fantastic value. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, leave a comment below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.